Assalamualaikum and good day. My name is Hazman, and today our group will be presenting on our OR project, which is about printing service. So this is the company that we choose to do our case study on. It is Chengal Printing and Stationery, which is located in Arcade Chengal in UTM. The type of service that they do is photocopy, printing, binding, comb and tape, and A4 and E3 NRIC laminate. And they also sells stationery. So this is the scope of our project. In this project, we aim to identify the best paper supplier for the print shop. We will mention the constraint later in the slides.
Hi all, my name is Tai Yow Wen. I'll present about the methodology and the data collection, basically on how we collect the data and how we decide which method to use. Next slide. So firstly, we try to approach the printing shop asking for any concern that we may do on regarding our project. Based on the conversation, we realized that the supplier selection will be our project topic. However, it is difficult to decide which kinds of supplier, either the ink cartridges supplier, paper supplier, stationery supplier. So the shop owner told us that the most critical would be his paper, as the papers are the most productive items in his shop rather than others. So based on the topic supplier selection, we are required to choose a deterministic method and a stochastic method for the operation research techniques, whereby the deterministic method requires certain data and information. However, the data for stochastic method are uncertainties. So 0-1 integer goal programming was selected to be the deterministic method, which we either do yes or no from the supplier only by limiting the goal constraint and the priority. Whereas the analytical hierarchy process AHP was selected to be the stochastic method, which the uncertainty criteria that could not be calculated need to be ranked by the decision maker. Next slide. So for the deterministic method, these are the criteria include demand, purchasing cost, maximum supply delay time, transportation cost, defect ratio, discount, delivery time. So these are the data collected based on the conversation within the shop owner. And next slide. So the first table is the preference level for each criteria based on the numeric value. So based on the conversation with the shop owner, the quality, service, and payment terms are the uncertainties that we could not count. So these are the criteria that we include in AHP to be ranked by the decision maker. Next. So I'll pass to Ramy to go
For goal programming, it's another method used to identify the best supplier for the printing shop. In the goal programming, we aim to prioritize our priorities into a list. Then we will try to use the system of linear equations to solve for the best supplier. So for example, we have here as a first priority, we have to minimize the supply delay. And for P2, we will need to minimize the transportation cost. And for P3, we will minimize the percentage of defective ratio. And P4, we will maximize the discount offered to the print shop. And P5, we will minimize the delivery time of the product to arrive. Next on, we will mention the constraints. Of course, each shop has its own targets and goals every month and for specific orders. For now, we will have the demand. Our project will focus on these constraints. For the demand, it will be 150 cartons per month. And the purchasing cost will be not more than 70 ringgit per packet or carton. And maximum supply delay time, which is MST, will not be more than 14 days. For transportation cost, also it should not be more than 50 ringgit per month. and the defective ratio will not be more than 3% per order. And the discount will be 1.5, and the delivery time will be 5 days per month. The last line shows the objective to minimize the P1, D1 of each priorities into a list. For the model, I will pass to Hafiz.
Sorry, Hafiz, we can't hear you.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, good.
Okay, so to find the solution for the goal programming, we use QM for Windows. And in the data input table using QM for Windows, there are a total of 8 constraints, which are the demand constraint, purchasing cost, maximum supply delay time, transportation cost, defect ratio, discount, and delivery time. And the other constraint is to the constraint that choose only one supplier for the solution, which is x1 plus x2 plus x3 equals 1. So next slide. After we solve using the QM for Windows, we can see that the optimal solution is to choose supplier A, which is shown as variable x1. Supplier A offers the price of 60 ringgit per carton, 7 days of maximum supply delay time, 50 ringgit of transportation costs, and 0.05% defect rates, and also 2% discount and 2 days of delivery time.
Okay, good evening. My name is Nurin Ardini. So next we will move into analytical hierarchy process, which is the stochastic solution that we done. Okay, next slide. Okay, firstly we need to do the pairwise comparison, and these are the matrices that we have obtained from the shop owner. Next slide. Okay, for the next step, we must develop the preference within criteria of each supplier versus quality. So this is for supplier versus quality. Next, this is for supplier versus service and supplier versus payment terms. Okay, next slide. Okay, the third step is to ranking the criteria. So these are the criteria ranking for each quality, each criteria. Okay, next step. Next slide. Okay, and lastly, we will determine the overall ranking of each supplier. So in this step, we will choose supplier C as it gives the greater value. Okay, next. Okay, after determining the overall ranking, we have to determine the AHP consistency to ensure if we can rely on the result or not. So based on the criteria matrices, we determine the consistency. Next slide. By using this calculation. So in this calculation, we get the final value CI over RI is 0.0824, which is lesser than 0.1. So this means that the criteria matrices are consistent. However, we need to evaluate for all matrices. So next slide. Okay, these are for the quality matrices and service matrices. So for quality, it is still lesser than 0.1, and for services, it is equal to 3, means it is perfectly consistent. Okay, next slide. However, for the payment terms, it is over 0.1. Therefore, the entire HP for the printing shop criteria were not consistent, as one of the individual criteria ratios of CI over RI was greater than 0.1. Thus, we conclude that there might be a serious inconsistency in the data, and the HP result may not be meaningful. Okay, that's all from me.
So, in conclusion, Due to the different result between the two programming method, our group decided that Chengal Print and Stationery will choose supplier A for their main supplier, as there is proven inconsistency in our AHP programming that makes the result have less weightage compared to gold programming result. And finally, through this project, we were able to meet the objective of this project by applying both a deterministic and stochastic approach in operational research to maximize their profit and choosing the best supplier from a list of different companies. That is all from us. Thank you.